In this ongoing series, we're taking you inside the Valley Relics Museum in Van Nuys for a closer look at the iconic vehicles that shaped Southern California's vibrant car culture. From timeless classics to unique local legends, each episode brings a new story to life. So buckle up and join us for another ride through history, right here on
All right, the 77 Camaro. What's the history behind the Camaro? Was it originally a collector's item or did it have an everyday driving past?
It has an everyday driving past, and it was generously donated about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And it's been, a lot of people remember it. My girl had the 77 Camaro, but hers was root beer brown.
There you go.
Yeah.
What do you have a preference in which color you prefer?
If I had that car, I'm a Ford guy, I wouldn't have that car.
I love that.
Okay, but if I was going to have a Camaro,
Yeah.
so you have to have a Camaro, I would get a metallic green first generation
Okay, good choice.
with a white stripe, Krager Super Sports, and I'd have a Hearst. It would not be an automatic.
There you go.
So that's what I would do, and also maybe an inch wider on the rears,
Yeah.
and polished and ported maybe.
There you go.
Okay, now I'm getting a Camaro. You got me thinking.
I'm pulling your finger a little bit.
Hold on a minute. Let me go on Car Gurus and see if there's anything out there. Let me go on Hemmings. But yeah, no, that would be the Camaro that I would have.
Do you prefer, I know a lot of days, people now, I would say even my generation don't know how to drive a manual. Do you think it's important to be able to either just, have the general basic knowledge of driving a manual or?
It's a different breed now,
Yeah.
It's Connor, who's our manager here, because we would be moving around the Spicoli bus.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how to drive stick. And it's like, no, I'm going to teach you how to drive stick.
We're learning today.
Yeah, we're learning today. So I, took him, and now he gets it.
Yeah.
And that's the one to learn on, because the truth is, that car has the sloppiest transmission of any car ever designed. And I'm not saying this one in particular. I'm saying
In general.
all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, the pattern, when you see the pattern on a car, it's usually first, second, third, fourth. Modern car will be fifth, sixth. Okay, and reversely, there'll be a pull up here or a pull up here. Okay,
Yeah.
This car, the pattern is this. This is first, there's second, there's third, and there's fourth.
Yeah.
And reverse is.
You see it in the air, like you're throwing out the window. That's funny.
It's true.
It's very true.
Yeah.
The late 70s Camaro is an icon of a muscle car culture. How do visitors react to it?
Well, they love it, like I say. My girl, when she saw it, she's like, oh my God, I have one of these. It's all part of that thing.
Exactly.
that whole, it's the license on it is Disco 77.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I hate disco.
You hate anything
I
about
hate
the 70s?
No, I love the 70s.
Yeah.
But you got to go Jethro Tull. You got to go. I have a very eclectic music taste, but I'm just saying that disco to us was like, there's the Antichrist. Well, that was the anti-art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I've noticed with...
What you doing in your mama's bed? It's like, no. You hear it cut off the record.
And that's the thing about the 70s that I personally noticed. You got the hard rock generation, and you've got disco.
1971, the entire music world changed. If you look at all the albums that came out, everybody, Carole King, Three Dog Night, James Taylor, Pink Floyd, all these different bands, Zeppelin, all these, the Zeppelin's in their second or third album, all this, these things, all this stuff came out. Soul, Sly and the Family Stone. So 1971 changed the world for music.
Yeah.
And then in 6 years, we had disco.
Do you feel like...
No.
Not today, Junior.
Not today. Nice try, Diddy.
Do you feel like because of the shift in just music, do you feel like the same thing happened with cars? where there was a shift in the 60s to 70s vehicles?
I think 70s cars. Things started to turn in the 80s.
Okay.
In the late 70s and into the early 80s. I mean, Japan was really feeling their oats, especially after the Marshall Plan and us rebuilding them. On some levels, from a manufacturing standpoint, they lost the war and won the battle. Mm-hmm. Because then it's like, all of a sudden you're seeing, like, the first foreign cars, it was this little Honda, that little Honda Civic.
Yeah.
Little Raisin. And they were smart. There's Honda, CVCC, compound vortex controlled combustion. You got pre-ignition, post-ignition on both the intake and the exhaust valves. And so they were starting to figure out the whole smog thing.
Yeah.
And doing it internally. This is before catalytic converters,
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was a kid, these cars, these 60s, 70s cars, they were just like, you look at the beginning of Dragnet, it's just like this brown, and trust me, they're making TV, so they're picking the best day they could find, and it's still just this brown thing.
Oh,
You went out and played when you were a kid, the carbon monoxide, but now we got 10 times the cars and a fraction of the pollution. So, yeah, I think the cars really, not to say that there isn't cool cars from any generation, the Honda NSX, it's a great car.
Yeah.
There's still other cars there's still much lesser cars now that are going to handle better and be faster and all that because the technology has changed. But yeah, I think the really the 80s and into the is when cars went from sexy to like
It's just more drivable.
More drivable. They're more consumer oriented. They're not super stylish. You get into exotics like Porsche's always got to be Porsche. Although, during that era, during the 80s, is when they even started to get kind of goofy. Yeah. You ended up with the 924 and the 928. And I got nothing bad to say about those cars. They're fast. They handle great for the time. But they broke away from it in that it's not a 911 anymore. It's not a rear engine. It's not a super sports car.
Yeah.
It was more of we're making emissions. And we got a nice interior.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is the Camaro still in its original factory condition, or has there been modifications?
It is. To my knowledge, we have been talking about whether the T-tops that are on it were factory or dealer or aftermarket. So we're sort of looking into that, but the car really hasn't been. It hasn't got a blower on it or anything,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think the appeal of the 1970s muscle cars is still growing, or are they more of a niche collector's market now?
I think to an extent they've always been a niche collector thing. It's just, and it's something that we find, that I find personally, dealing with the museum and also my own personal junk that I have, is that there's a thing called the nostalgia curve.
Yeah.
And so what happens is folks hit a certain age, like a guy in his 50s is going, man, my 401k's doing good. I got an extra 40 grand lying around. I always wanted this car. I never had this car. He's driving some like mid-level Audi back and forth to his accounting job.
Yeah.
And now he wants to get a Camaro. Now he wants to get that, 1970 something Boss 302 Mustang, And so they'll do that.
Of course.
But then, over time, it's just like people don't care. It's just so I don't know. If you go to a car show with these older cars, most of the guys have gray hair, and they're wearing a baseball hat, and they're sitting on a lawn chair all day. And the Corvette guys will have a little card with like everything about the car, the dealer sheet on it.
They'll have a poster board on a.
Or a poster board, board like that, and then like bust out a couple of trophies. Jean shorts and New Balance. I'm sorry. I'm being sorry. I'm doing a Chevy shot. I don't mean to. Not to say that those Ford guys aren't that geeky too, but still.
There you go.
Yeah. So no, I don't know. It's niche. It's just like it's not for everybody. Not everybody has a classic car.
Which and completely reasonable. We were talking about the whole maintenance of it earlier. It's not people's thing, and then.
Oh no. You've got to. You got a problem with a Mercedes, you take it to the place, you give the guy $500, he plugs in a laptop, they unscrew a couple of things, you come back in a year.
Yeah.
10,000 miles. Now it's just like, you had to get involved with your car. Probably the most interesting one is when I bought my Triumph, my 62 TR3 The TR3B, by the way, with the 2138, the TR4 engine. Thank you very much. Dual SU carburetors. But yeah, the book that for the car, I mean, the toolkit for the car came with a grease gun. Okay? And there was like specs on every 500 miles, you're checking the brakes, and you're doing this. I mean, setting the valve thing and monkeying with the carburetor. There's so it's just like people got involved with their cars.
People had a connection, a genuine
People,
connection.
they worked on them.
Yeah.
They worked on them. I mean, you look at the original Lotus, like the Lotus Elan, you could either buy one from the dealership or you could buy a kit.
Yep.
No, and I mean, there's these ads of this guy in a shirt and a tie with his sleeves rolled up, and his friend standing and a tie, like with his friends, and they're building this car, and the whole thing behind was, oh well, you don't have to pay for MOT, Ministry of Transportation.
There you go.
You save money on it, and you build the car yourself.
Exactly.
I mean, who does that now?
Exactly. No, there's no such thing as kits anymore.
There's no such thing as kit cars.
Yeah. They don't even. I don't think they even exist.
They might,
And
I
there's
mean, I'm sure
very
I'm sure there's some dude in Arizona that is making like fiberglass tubs with the Speedster, and you send them the core of your Volkswagen or God knows
Exactly.
what, or they'll ship you the that. So there probably is. It's like there's kit airplanes now, but it's rare. It's
Yeah.
not what it used to be.
Oh no, you can't even compare it nowadays.
No, I mean, a lot of people don't know what end of the screwdriver to hold.
No. What sets the 77 Camaro apart from other muscle cars of its era?
Well, the thing that makes ours particularly unique is that it was actually manufactured here in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what, to me, as far as the collection goes, the stuff that's here, that's what sets it apart.
And it's close by.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
within a mile. The
There
old
you
GM plant.
Yeah.
Look at an office building now, but,
It isn't what it was now.
Yeah.
All right. So your personal car, or Tommy's car, sorry, the Cobra, the 68 Cobra. The Ford XL Fastback Cobra is a little bit of a hidden gem. How did Tommy come across the car?
he was contacted by the owner
There you go.
and said, do you want this? And Tommy bought it. I mean, it was that simple.
There you go. Has the car been modified, or is it all?
Dead nuts stock, bone stock.
Is it his personal favorite?
I don't know. He's got a few cars, but yeah, it's one of my favorites of his.
There you go. What is the most unique feature of this model that enthusiasts tend to appreciate when seeing the car?
It's a Cobra. It's a frickin' Cobra. I mean, it's got the original Cobras on it. Yeah, Torino Cobra. It's rare.
Yeah. How rare is the Cobra compared to other classic muscle cars, would you say, in line?
If 10 being like the rarest,
Yeah.
and 1 is like, yeah, they made a million of them. I would say that car is like a 7 or an 8.
Okay.
It's that rare.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean it's going to command, $300,000, but it will command 60s or 70s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it depends how well you maintain
Yeah,
it
because
with
part
any,
of
with any car.
Well, no, it's all condition, and part of
Yeah.
it, part of it's rarity, and also it's like I say, where you're going to hit that nostalgia curve. The deal is that not many people are sitting around going, man, I wish I had that. I wish I had a Torino Cobra, because they've never seen one. They never saw one when they were a kid.
Exactly.
I mean, if I was going to have a classic car from the 60s, personally, and I'd never afford it, but I would have a Ford GT.
There you go.
I had a Ford GT. I mean, that to me was just the epitome of, I mean, it was just, everybody was getting back into racing. I mean, there was a horrible crash that Mercedes had. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, literally, there was like a gentleman's agreement with Ford and Chevy. They weren't going to race.
Yeah.
And what really brought it back is Ford wanted to buy Ferrari. Mm-hmm. They're making movies about it.
There you go.
And Enzo just told him to go screw himself.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let him look at the books. And Fords were just like, oh, yeah, really? Okay, well, we're going to take Le Mans. And they did.
Yeah.
And they did. And there was a consumer version of it. Because for that thing to run Le Mans, they had to have a production street car.
Yeah. There you go.
So, yeah, Ford GT.
Would you ever, like, if you owned it now, would you try to keep it in pristine condition, or would you go and, like, race and,
I wouldn't race it, but I'd drive it.
Yeah.
Like, all the time.
There you go.
Like all the time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what's your perspective on that? Because I know a lot of people like to keep their cars in like storage and like keep it prized possession sort of thing. How do you
Keep it in the garage and drive it.
Yeah.
Drive it. Because they atrophy.
Yeah.
The worst thing you could do to a car is not drive it.
Yeah.
You know, I drive my car, and I've done that. I got into a point where, like with my Triumph, I didn't drive it for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare getting it running again. And I finally just pulled the carburetors off and started at ground zero with it.
Yeah.
And it's just, you've got to do that.
Yeah.
You've got to drive them. So, you know, I mean, I see these, you know, like I mentioned, the Ford GT, the last incarnation from the mid 2000s or early 2000s. You know, I see them with like, you know, 500 miles on 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know, I talked to the best mechanic for those cars in the world is right over at Galpin.
Yeah.
This guy named Ray. And he's just like, no, when they don't drive them, he goes, it's $5,000, $10,000 worth of crap you got to do to get them back to, you know. They need to be driven,
Yeah.
you know.
Of course.
Just and up to temp. Not just, you know, because the worst thing you do is drive it around the block a few times.
Yeah.
You do that with an old car, it's really bad.
Yeah.
You know, you just like, you know, these short trips. Oh, I'm just going to go out to the, you know, go get ice cream, go to the drugstore. No. You take it around, and every now and again, they need a good flogging. They need a good.
Press it.
Seat the rings.
There you go.
Seat the rings.
Yeah.
Get it out of the freeway, you know. I mean, if you're afraid of driving it in a lot of traffic, I mean, you know, take the Thunderbird. Not that I ever break the speed limit, but if the Thunderbird gets out on the 118 freeway at like, you know, midnight or 1 o'clock on a, you know, middle of the week and nobody's around,
There you go.
they need it.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, and I completely agree. I think people need to kind of, you know, and for a mechanic standpoint, I completely agree.
No garage queen.
If Tommy could add any other car to his collection, what would it be?
That's like I say, we were talking. He said Batmobile. I said Munster Coach. But yeah, no, some Barra stuff would be really awesome.
There you go.